A very good morning, students. Welcome back to online session on programming for a problem solving course. In our previous session, we concluded the concept of pointers. We discussed many things in pointers like how we can use these pointers, how we can define, how we can initialize, and how we can dereference, how we can store the address of a variable into a pointer. All these things we have discussed, and we have also discussed some of the special cases like how a generic pointer can be declared, defined, and used in C programming. Then we have also seen how we can define and declare different levels of pointers, pointer to pointers. Then what are the roles of these pointers in arrays? All these concepts we have discussed, and we said we have an efficient technique of accessing the array elements using pointers called pointer arithmetic. So in order to access the individual elements from your array, we have two different ways. One is indexing and the other one is pointer arithmetic. Okay, all these concepts we have concluded in our previous session, and in today's session we'll go with the fourth unit. In fourth unit, we basically have two different concepts. One is recursion and the other one is structures. So this recursion concept we'll discuss afterwards. I mean, first we conclude these structures, and these structures, it is one of the important topic, and we can expect one LAQ from these structures. So that's the reason we are focusing more on these structures, and it is a vast concept. It will take around 2 to 3 classes. This recursion I'm planning in one session because it is very small concept, and there is a rare possibility that they can ask a question from this LAQ question from this recursion. Mostly they will ask SAQs from this recursion concept, and that too the definition, what is recursion, that's it. Okay, so we have a much scope, okay, a much weightage on this structures concept. That's the reason we are going with this structure first. Okay, so without much ado, let's just start the concept of structures from your fourth unit. Okay, so we need to see what are structures. Being an object, how we can do the declaration, definition, and initialization of a structure in our C programming, and how we can access elements from this structure. So when I'm saying accessing elements from a structure, you might have got this point. It is not a regular type of variable or a regular type of element. So when I'm saying accessing elements from a structure, it is more of a collection. Something like your arrays, your structure is also a collection in the sense it is going to have more number of elements into it. Okay, so all those concepts we'll discuss in today's session, and I will try to discuss as much concepts as possible in today's session. Okay, so just see the definition of this structure. So as I said just now, a structure is a collection. A structure is a collection in the sense it is going to have more number of elements into it, not just one element. Rather it is going to have a collection of elements, more than one element into it. Okay, so being a collection, what type of elements it will have, whether it is going to have all elements of same type like your arrays, or it is something other than that. So over here you can see, when I'm saying a structure, when I'm defining a structure, I'm saying a structure is a collection of heterogeneous data elements. So what do you mean by heterogeneous? Heterogeneous in the sense elements of a different type. When I'm saying heterogeneous, heterogeneous means elements of different type. So unlike your arrays, inside a structure we are going to have elements of different types, whereas your array, it is a collection of data elements of same type, or we said an array is a collection of homogeneous data elements. But whereas a structure, it is a collection of heterogeneous data elements. Heterogeneous in the sense different types. So you can put one element of type integer, other element of type character, other element of type float, like that you can put mixed type of elements into your structure. So that's the reason we are calling a structure as a collection of heterogeneous data elements. Okay. So a structure in a C in C is a collection of items of different types. The same meaning, I mean, what does it mean by heterogeneous? That I have given the explanation over here. So elements of different types. It is a collection of elements of different types. Okay. So how we have to use these structures in our C program? Whenever we are making the collections of logically related data. So suppose let us take the example of a student data. A student data, what data a student will have? His address, his name, his ID, his marks related stuff, his achievements. Okay, all these things are related to one particular student. So basically what we do, all these details will put together and we make it as a structure. So all these details, so when I'm saying name, it should be of type string. When I'm saying his marks, it should be of type float. When I'm saying his ID, it should be of type number. When I'm saying his address, it should be of type string. Likewise, we are having different types of logically related data. Different types of logically related data. To maintain such data in our C program, to maintain such a data in our C program, what we are doing, we are going for the concept of structure. So when you define a structure, in that structure you can put logically related data of a particular entity. That entity, it can be a student, it can be an employee, whatever it may be. It can be a patient in a hospital, it can be a doctor in a hospital. Okay. So whatever related data you're keeping inside your C program or inside your application, to maintain such a data will go for structures in C program. So remember this definition and remember this application of structures when we are talking about. So if you see the example on these structures, you can see over here. So what I am doing inside this box, I'm maintaining the details of a student. So I'm maintaining the details of a student. So that student, he will have a name associated with him. He will have an ID of him, and he also have marks, isn't it? So if you put all these data, related data, together as a single entity, yeah, in order to maintain such a collection, we need a structure. We need a structure. So definitely, in order to maintain such a data in our C program, we have to go for the concept called structure. Because when you see the name, in order to store the name, what we need? We need a string. We need a string. Already we discussed what is a string. So in order to maintain the name of a student, we need a string. Then in order to maintain the ID of a student, definitely we need an integer, because ID in the sense it is a numerical value, and always we are not going to have any precisions in your ID. It is going to be a whole number. So in order to store the ID, we need an integer. Then marks you can get in terms of decimal points, in terms of fractions, in terms of precisions. So definitely we have to go for float. For storing marks, we have to go for float. So now, as you can see, I have mixed types of elements. I have mixed types of elements. That is string. String is nothing but your character array. When I'm saying string, you have to remember it as character array. Okay. A delimiter, character array with a delimiter, we have to say character array with a delimiter. So when I'm saying a string, it is a character array with a delimiter. So we are having character array, as well as we are having integer, as well as we are having float. So three different types of data elements. So can I put these three different types of data elements inside an array? Not possible, because definitely inside an array, being a collection, inside an array, you have to put all the data of same type. Okay, all the data of same type. So because of that reason, we cannot fulfill our requirement of this type with the help of function, with the help of arrays. So definitely we have to go for these structures, where a structure is a collection of heterogeneous data element. Hopefully you understood this concept. Why we need structures in C programming, hopefully you understood, and I have also given the definition and application as well. So see over here, the same structure when you declare, when you define in your C programming, of that structure type, you can create as many students as you want. So don't think that after creation of a structure, inside that structure you can put only one student details. Simply create as many as many student variables as you want, and inside every variable you can store the details of one particular student. So suppose if you want to store the details of 10 students, then simply create 10 variables of that structure type. Over here, structure is a type declaration. Remember this one. Structure is a type declaration. That's the reason this structure comes under derived type. It is not a primitive type. It is a derived type. So using the primitive types, we are creating this structure. So derived type. All derived type variables are all derived types are dependent on the primitive types. Okay. So over here, what I am doing, inside my student one, I am storing the details related to that student one. So his name I have given, his ID I have given, and his marks I have given over here. Then student 2, I am storing the details of that student 2. Here we have the name, we have the ID, we have the marks. Then student 3, again one more variable of types structure. Then I'm storing his name, his marks, his ID, and his marks. Like this. When you create a variable of type structure, after type declaration, we have to create the variable of type structure. So when you create the variable of type structure, if it is having three different variables. First variable name, it is of type character array. Okay. Then second variable of type integer, id. Okay. Third variable of type marks of type float. So like this is how it will allocate the memory. This is how it will allocate the memory. Each element of your structure, each member of your structure is going to have its own memory location. So name, when you are storing, it will come over here inside the name part. ID, when you are storing, it will come inside the ID part. And marks, when you are storing, it will come inside the marks part. Like that you have to remember. So yeah, when you're grouping different elements, different types of elements inside a structure, we call every individual type as a field, of a structure. So each element in a structure is called as a field. A field is the smallest element of named data that has meaning. So when you are saying name over here, this particular element is helpful in storing the student name. Okay, it is having a specific meaning over here. When you are giving the identifier name over here, it is having some specific meaning. It is capable of holding the name of student. So likewise, so it is the smallest unit. Structure, the complete thing, it is a big entity, and in that this name is the smallest element or smallest unit. Likewise, id is also another individual field. It is also capable of storing the id of the student, a numerical value. Then marks, it is another individual entity. We call it as a field, marks field. It is also having some specific meaning. It is capable of holding the marks of students. Likewise, so each element in a structure is called as a field. A field is the smallest element of named data that has some specific meaning. It has many other characteristics of a variable. It is same whatever characteristics your variable will possess. So all those characteristics your structure field will also possess, will also have. Okay. So being a variable, your variable will have identifier. Here also structure field will have an identifier. Your variable will have some specific address. Your structure field will also have some specific address because it is also stored in your computer memory. So your variable will also have some value initialized. Inside a structure field also you can initialize some value. So all the characteristics, all the possible characteristics, whatever a variable is having or whatever a variable is possessing, all those characteristics your structure field will also possess. Okay. It has a type. Okay. As long as your variable is concerned, variable will have a type. So your structure variable will also have a type. Structure member will also have a type. So an identifier and also exists in the memory. So your structure field, it will also have a type, it will also have an identifier, it will also exists in the memory. So it can be initialized a value. Already I told you your structure field, it can also hold some meaningful value, and latter can be manipulated. So not only storing the value inside a structure field as per your requirement, as per your desire, you can even manipulate that value. You can even change that value based on your requirement. Okay, the only difference between a variable and a structure, what is that? In the sense, your variable and a structure field, your variable is an independent entity, it is not dependent on anything, but whereas a structure field, it is a part of a structure. Okay, you have to remember this one, that difference here I'm explaining. See, when we are saying a variable, it is an independent entity, variable is an independent entity, but whereas a structure field, it is a part of a structure. Okay, it is a part of a structure. So now we have to understand the difference between an array and a structure. Already I have explained this many times. The difference between an array and a structure is that all elements in a array must be of same type. All elements inside an array, they must be of same type. That's the reason we are calling such elements as homogeneous type of elements. Homogeneous type of elements. But whereas the structure elements, okay, whereas structure elements, they are of different types. They are of different types. What do you mean by different types? They are of heterogeneous types. Okay, likewise. So yeah, this structure, it is a convenient way where you are going to group different types of data elements. It is one of the convenient way where we put together all data elements of different types. It also provides flexibility and increased control over accessing the data of different types. Not only grouping them, but also with the help of structures, when you are grouping, you will get a lot, an increased control on the data. So using structures, data can be accessed as a single grouped object. So as based on your requirement, not only as a group, but also individual elements from the structure, individual fields from the structure you can access. Hopefully you understood. So yeah, now being an object, your structure is an object. So being an object, so what things you can perform on a structure, what things you can do on a structure, in the sense, already we are quite familiar with this terminology. Many times we used this terminology. Whenever I explained a new type of object in C language, I used this terminology, that we have to do the declaration of an object, definition of an object, as well as initialization of an object before using it in our C programs. So being an object, your structure needs to be done with all these things, needs to go through with all these things, that you have to do the structure declaration, you have to do the structure definition, and also you have to do the structure initialization. So first we'll discuss how to do the declaration, and moreover, whatever ways we have discussed prior to these structures, the way of declaring, the way of defining, the way of initializing other objects, and the way of declaring, defining, and initializing structures, it is quite a bit different. I'm not saying entirely different, quite a bit different. Okay, so you need to do some minute changes, very minimum changes, whenever we are going for the declaration, definition, and initialization of a structure. So yeah, quickly, like every other object in C, a structure must be declared, defined, as well as initialized when it is required. Okay, so in C we have two different ways, or two different techniques in which we can do the declaration of a structure. They are tagged structures and type defined structures. Tagged structures as well as type defined structures, these are the two ways in which you can do the structure declaration. Tagged structures as well as type defined structures. So these tagged structures will discuss as an example only. Okay, as an example only, because they are not that much flexible. Because it is a way of doing the declaration of a structure, we have to discuss. I will give only one example based on these tagged structures, and whenever it is possible, we'll go with only type defined structures, because this is the most flexible way of doing the declaration of a structure. Okay, so we always have to go with type defined structures, will not go with tagged structures. But as a concept, we have to discuss both how we do the declaration using tagged structures and how we do the declaration using type defined structures. So quickly, one by one, we have to discuss both. So first I am starting with tagged structures. The first way of doing the definition, I mean declaration of a structure, is tagged structure. Okay, tagged structure. A tagged structure can be used to define variables, parameters to functions, and return types of a function. So where we exactly use these structures, in the sense, not only structures as individual objects, but also you can pass these structures as parameters to functions, and you can return structures from a function, or you can also use them individually. So remember all these uses. You can define and use them like variables. You can pass them as parameters to function, and you can return from a function as a return type. Okay. So all these things, whenever you are doing all these things, you can go for structures. A tagged structure starts with the keyword struct. So we have to use the struct keyword whenever you are doing the declaration of a structure. So struct keyword is used to do the declaration, or to do the what we call to create the template of a structure. Okay, followed by the tag, and this tag is nothing but something like an identifier. It is an identifier, name given to the structure. What is identifier? Name given to the structure. So in tagged structure, we use the keyword struct. It is a keyword. We use keyword struct, and we use tag as an identifier. So whatever tag you provide, okay, whatever tag you provide to this structure, that tag will become the identifier of that structure. So yeah, here in the next statement you can read that one. The tag is the identifier for the structure. It is used for accessing the fields of the structure. So using this tag only, we are going to access all the individual fields inside a structure. So if you see the syntax of this structure, so as you can see here, I said we have to use the struct keyword followed by the tag, and you have to use two curly brackets, and between that curly brackets we are going to list all our fields. Whatever fields you want to put inside this structure, all those fields you have to list inside this curly brackets, opening curly bracket and closing curly bracket, and at the end you have to observe this semicolon. So whenever you do the declaration of a structure, the template creation of a structure, you have to follow this syntax. First use the keyword struct, then give the tag associated with that structure. Tag is nothing but the name given to the structure. Then use the curly brackets. Between the curly brackets, specify all the fields. Okay, whatever fields, whatever elements of different types you want to put inside this structure, those elements you put here, and close the curly bracket, and at the end don't forget to put the semicolon. So this is how we do the declaration of a tagged structure. So here we have given the example. You can note it down. Again, here also I am using the keyword struct. Struct is the keyword given to the structure. Then the name of the structure, I have given the name as student. So I am creating a structure student. Okay. Then as I said, inside a structure you can put elements of different types. So here what I have done, yeah, it is up to you what type of elements you are taking inside a structure. It is up to you. So over here what I have done, name of type character array it is. ID also I have taken like a character array, but if you insist you want to take it as an integer value, you can take. And marks I have taken integer over here. If you insist you want to take it as a float, you can take. Okay, there is no restriction on the type. I mean, based on your requirement, based on your desire, based on your need, you can change these types. And not only 3, you can put as many fields as you want inside this structure. There is no limitation on the number of fields, that we can put only 10, 20 likewise. As many you want, that many you can put inside this structure student. Okay, so this is your structure. Struct is the keyword, identifier followed by the curly brackets, and inside that curly brackets, within that curly brackets, we have to do the declaration of all the fields, all the required fields. Okay. So at the end, just don't forget to put this semicolon. This is very, very, very important in case of a tagged structure. Okay, so notice that the structure is concluded with the semicolon. We have given the semicolon at the end, and no variables are defined, so no associated storage. So here we have not defined any structure variable. So generally structure variable creation we do in the local area, and declaration we do in the global area. So when we see the examples at that point, you will understand all these things very clearly. Okay, meantime you just remember the syntax, how we do the declaration. Then the next type, second type of structures are type defined structures. So it is using type def, the keyword type def, we define this type of structures. It is a keyword. Type def is a keyword, and it is generally to create a user defined data type. A user defined data type, we use this type def keyword. It is a different concept which is not there in your curriculum, which is not there in your syllabus. So as I said many times, C is an ocean. We simply can't cover the complete C programming language in one single semester. It needs a minimum of 2 semesters to discuss this C language thoroughly. That's the reason, as we are covering this C in one single semester, they have framed the curriculum accordingly. And if the students, those who have the interest of learning programming language, they can go beyond the curriculum and they can research on different topics, different concepts which are not there in your curriculum. But as the time is a constraint, time is a restriction, time is a problem in your semester, we are not covering all those concepts over here. Okay, so type def, it is a user defined type. I mean, it's a keyword. It is generally used to create a user defined type in C language. So structure, it is also a user defined type. So using type def, what we are doing, we are creating a structure. So it is one of the powerful technique of creating a structure. And as I said, tagged structure we discuss as an example only, but in real time practice, whenever we do the practice on structures, we go with type defined structures only. It is the most flexible and a powerful technique of declaring a structure. And in order to create a type defined structure, we are using type def keyword. The format, if you see, the syntax, if you see, what we have to do, first you use the type def keyword, then struct keyword. Both the keywords we have to use. Type def keyword as well as struct keyword. And use the curly brackets, and within that curly brackets, declare, put all the fields, whatever you want to put inside this structure, put all those fields like a list over here. Field 1, field 2, field 3, field 4, likewise, put all the fields like a list. And at the end, don't forget to give this type name. It is something like an identifier. It is something like an identifier for the structure. So at the end, what we have to do, we have to give the identifier. Just don't forget to give this identifier at the end. So the syntax, once again I'm explaining. First we use the keyword type def, then we use the keyword struct, and within the curly brackets we list all the fields, and at the end, after closing the curly bracket, we give the identifier for the structure. We call it as a type. Okay, and after giving the identifier, you must close the structure. You must conclude the structure with the help of a semicolon. Okay, a semicolon is mandatory in both the cases, in tagged structures as well as in type defined structures. So just see the example over here, the example for declaring a structure, type defined structure. Yeah, here what I am doing, type def followed by the struct keyword. Again I am keeping the fields, character name, character ID, integer marks. I am keeping the fields, and at the end, as you can see, we have the what we call the tag, type of the structure, the identifier for the structure. Using this student only, we are going to identify our structure. See, remember this one, whenever you are giving the identifier for a structure, give all capitals so that we differentiate. Because whenever we are using a new type of object in our programming, there must be a way to differentiate that object with other objects. We are using variables, we are using arrays, we are using functions, we are using pointers, we are using structures, unions, files. How we are going to differentiate our object with other objects? So in order to differentiate structures with other objects, what we are doing, we are simply whatever identifier we are giving to structure, we are simply using all capitals. All capitals for that structure. So whenever you see an identifier with all capital letters, you consider it as a structure name. Okay, so that type of differentiation we use, that type of differentiation we do in our C programming for structures. So the difference between tagged structure and type defined structure, okay, there are two differences. Okay, we basically have two types of two differences between the type defined structure and tagged structure. The first is the keyword. Okay, the first difference is the keyword. Type def is added in the beginning of the declaration. So in type defined structures, what we are doing, simply we are adding another keyword, another important keyword in case of type defined structures, that is a type def keyword. In normal structures, we don't have that type defined keyword. That is, in case of tagged structure, we don't have this type def keyword. Okay, the second difference is the identifier we are giving at the end. In type defined structure, we are giving the identifier at the end. In tagged structure, we are giving the identifier at the beginning. That is another difference. Only two differences: the extra keyword type def we are using in case of type defined structures, and the identifier we are providing at the end rather than providing it at the beginning. You just go and see over here. As you can see, what we are doing in case of tagged structures, we are giving the identifier at the beginning. But in case of type defined structures, we are giving the identifier at the end, at the last. And also the type def keyword we are using as an extra thing in case of type defined structures, which is not there in case of tagged structures. Tagged structure, we have only one keyword, that is struct keyword. Hopefully you understood. So these two are the differences between tagged and type defined structures. Okay, the variable declaration, structure variable declaration. So after doing the declaration of a variable, after doing the declaration of a structure, we have to go for variable declaration. And where exactly we do this variable declaration, in the sense inside the local area of your program, inside the main function or inside a function, inside any function we have to do. Like a local, we have to create the structure variable. But whereas a structure declaration, it will go in the global area. So you read this three statements, three important valid points over here. The first one: after a structure has been declared, a variable of a structure type can be created using the structure. So the structure type can be declared in the global area. So structure type, that is nothing but structure declaration we are doing in the global area. Global area in the sense before the main function, like how we are doing the function declarations, at that point only we do the declaration of a structure, so that it is accessible by the entire program, by all the functions in your program. Can't we do in the local area the structure declaration? In the sense, yes we can do, in the local area as well, but the structure will not become accessible to all parts of your program. So in order to make your structure accessible in all parts of the program, what we have to do, generally we do the declaration in the global area. So you remember only that thing, don't go for local declaration of a structure. Remember the structure declaration in the global area only, that's more than enough. A variable of structure type can be created in the global area, local area. And how we are going to create a structure variable, in the sense, here I have given the complete syntax. Okay, for tagged structures how we are doing, and for type defined structure how we are doing, both the things we are discussing over here. See, the same student structure I am creating. In case of tagged structure, what we have to do, we have to use the keyword struct, then give the identifier for the structure, that is student, then pass all the fields, 1 2 3 fields I have passed. And now here what I am doing inside the main function, this is when I am saying local declarations, we generally do inside a function. So here I am treating it as we are doing inside the main function. So this thing you have to do inside the main function. So how we are creating? Yeah, when you are creating the student variable, a student variable, definitely you need structure tag name, as well as we need struct keyword. Because of this reason only we are not going for tagged structure, because every time whenever you are creating the variable of structure, you need keyword struct as well. Because of this reason we are not going for tagged structure, rather we are going for type defined structure. So if you go with type defined structures, then what will happen? We are giving extra keyword type def only once, and whenever you are creating the variable of type structure, we are not using the struct keyword over here. As you can see, there is no struct keyword. Directly we are using the structure type name, that is student, and followed by the variable identifier a student. This is the type name. So using type def, what we have done, we have created a new type. So when you are creating a variable of type student, what is student over here? It is something like a type only, isn't it? When you are creating a variable of type integer, int is the type name. When you are creating the variable of type character, character is the type name. In that same way, when you are creating a variable of type student, here student is the type name. User defined type name. Who created that student? The developer has created this student? No, we as a programmer, we only have created, and this is the creation. We only have created the student. So who are the creators for this student type? The user is the creator for this student type. That's why we are calling this student as a user defined type. Okay, so using this user defined type, we are creating a variable that is a student. Now this a student will become a structure variable, and it is going to have all these three things. What are they? It is going to have name into it, it is going to have ID into it, and it is also going to have marks into it. Now we have to understand how we are going to access this name, access this ID, access this marks. All these things we need to understand. So that is, yeah, quickly we discuss one simple demonstration on tagged structure. So inside that I will show you not only how we are doing the declaration, definition and initialization, but also we see how we can access the individual elements from that structure. So generally, in order to access the individual elements from a structure, we use the dot operator. Variable name followed by dot operator. Suppose if you want to access name inside an array, how we are accessing individual elements? We set array of 0, array of 1, array of 2, like that we are accessing the individual elements from the array. So how you can access the individual elements from a structure, in the sense, now the structure variable name is a student. Here the structure variable name is a student. So using this a student, how I can access the individual elements, name, ID and marks, in the sense, simply use the dot operator. So suppose if I want to access the name of a student, what I have to do? That is a student dot name. A student is my variable name, dot name, structure variable name, dot name. Like this you can access this name field from the structure. Now if you want to access ID, a student dot ID. Again, if you want to access the marks, a student dot marks. Like this we access all individual elements from the structure. Hopefully you understood. So quickly go and demonstrate the structure. So for demonstration purpose, what I have to do? I have to open the IDE that I am doing now. So this is my IDE. So take one empty program. Okay. Go to the source file. Yeah, here I am start narrating the program. Okay. Hash include stdio.h, then do the structure declaration. So tagged structure declaration, what I am doing over here, it is a one comment I am writing, tagged declaration. So I have to use the struct keyword followed by the name. I am taking the name as something like EMP, employee, and in that employee I am going to put only two things. One is his ID and his salary. Okay, so ID I am taking of type integer, integer ID, comma I am taking the salary like a float, float salary. So two different types now. ID is one type and salary is another type. So now what I am doing? Yeah, this is my structure declaration over. So go to the main function, int main of void. So instead of only 3, take complete employee. Okay, so inside my main function, what I have to do? So this is my global area. So before the main function and after the files, header files, whatever area we have, we call this particular thing as global area. So where we are doing the structure declaration, in the sense inside global area. Inside global area we are doing the structure declaration, and where we are creating the variable in the sense inside the local area. So inside main, when you are opening the curly brackets of a name, we call main, we call it as a local area. So here what I am doing, I am creating a variable of type employee. Struct is my keyword, struct is my keyword, employee, and I am creating a variable emp. Now this emp is a variable of type employee structure. This emp is a variable of type employee structure. So inside this variable emp, I am going to have two fields, that is id field as well as salary field. How I can access? So if I do the demonstration over here, so what I have done so far, I have created the employee structure. Employee structure. So after creating employee structure, what I have done, I have created the variable of this employee structure. This is my employee structure, let us assume. So then I have, using this employee structure, what I have done, I have created the variables. Struct employee, then I kept emp. So now this emp is my structure employee variable. So inside this emp, what are all the things I am going to have? Inside this emp, I am going to have two things. Internal to this emp, I am going to have two things. So the first thing is first thing is his id, isn't it? Inside employee we put id and salary. Two things. So now how to initialize this thing and how to initialize this thing, in the sense, simply use the variable name dot field name, that is employee dot id, to initialize this thing. So if I make it as 20, id as 20, then what will happen? Id will become 20. Then employee dot salary, if I make it as 27,000, like this, 27,000, then what will happen? 27,000 will come over here like this. So quickly go and do this thing. Yeah, here how I can initialize the individual fields. Employee dot c, over here it is showing id equals to some 20 we set. Then employee dot salary equals to some 27,000 we set, sorry, 1000 we set. So now both the fields from that employee structure I have initialized. So now how to print that one? Printf employee id colon percentile d comma emp dot id. Okay, so put the semicolon at the end. Next print the second thing, that is employee dot salary, employee salary percentile f, because it is a float, isn't it? Float variable. So percentile f we have taken, comma, here what we have to put? We need to put emp dot salary, like this. At the end put the semicolon. Okay, now you save the program and compile it and execute it. Save. It will ask me to give the file name. So struct temp dot c, I have given the name, some random name. Then the file is saved, compile it, compilation, you can see it is successful. Then execute it, see the output. So whatever initialization we have done inside my main program, So inside my program, the same thing I'm getting. I have given the employee ID as 20, so I'm getting the ID as 20. I've given the salary as 27,000, so I'm getting the salary as 27,000. As it is a float value, it is giving 6 zeros after that. Okay, so here you can see ID we made it as integer, salary we made it as float, and initialization here we have done individual field initialization of an array here we have done, and like this we are getting the values from the structure. So there are different ways in which we can do the initialization of a structure that we go further and discuss. So this is how I have demonstrated your tagged structure. So now initialization. So one way of doing the initialization we already discussed in case of tagged structure. So there are few other ways in which we can initialize, like how we passed the values for an array using the set of parentheses, set of curly brackets like a set. In that same way we can also pass the values to a structure fields. So that is, the rules for structure initialization are similar to the rules for array initialization. What are the rules, or what are the ways we processed in case of array? The same rules will also apply on structure initialization. To initialize the values must be enclosed in braces, curly brackets, and separated by commas. They must match the corresponding type in the structure definition. The order, how you are passing the values, the order should match with the structure declaration. I will show you how that one. See over here. Yeah, here it is a type defined structure. We discussed the example for a tagged structure, and there only we are stopping the discussion of the tagged structure. In future, if possible, we'll go with that. If there is no other alternative but to use the tagged structure, we go with tagged structure. Otherwise, we mostly use the type defined structures only. So here you see the definition of declaration of this type defined structure. Type def is the keyword, struct is the keyword, and identifier is sample. I'm taking the identifier as sample. So inside it, how many I have taken, how many fields I have taken? 4 fields. First field is of type integer, second field is also of type integer, third field is of type float, and the last field is of type character. So integer x, integer y, float f, and character u. These are my variable names and these are my fields. Okay, these are my fields and these are the types for those fields, we can say. So how I have done, see, I'm creating sample1 variable, sam1 variable of type sample. Sam1 equals to, how I have done the initialization, the order must match with the declaration. So here what I have done, first variable of type integer, second variable of type integer, third variable of type float, and fourth value of type character I have passed. First two values of type integer, third value is of type float, and the last value is of type character. Why I passed in this order? In the sense, because this is the values, the order of values must follow the order of declarations. So as I have declared over here two integers first, then float, then character, in that same order I need to pass the values. I can't go randomly, that is first doing initialization of float, then integer, then character, finally once again integer. Doing like this is an error. Doing like that is an error, because structure is a collection of heterogeneous data elements. Whatever data values you are trying to initialize, the order must match with the declaration. Okay, this is a valid point and important point. And doing the partial initialization over here, what I am doing inside SAM2, I am doing the initialization of only first two fields, and the rest two fields I'm leaving uninitialized. So when you are leaving the fields uninitialized, they are getting zeros by default for numericals and null character by default for characters. Remember this one also, it is also an important point and valid point. Okay, so accessing structures, already we discussed. The structure, it can be accessed in two different ways. Individual elements we can access, or the structure as a whole we can access. Individual elements we can access, or the structure as a whole element we can access. So referencing individual fields, in order to reference the individual fields, what we have to do, we have to use the dot operator. Here you can see a dot operator. Structure fields can be accessed and manipulated using operators just like any other normal variable. Okay, how we are performing operations on normal variables, in that same way you can perform the operations on structure fields simply by accessing them. So the way how we can access individual elements from a structure in the sense using a dot operator. To refer to a field in a structure, the structure and the field both has to be referred. So in order to refer the particular field from a structure, the structure variable name as well as the field name both has to be used. Only one entity is not enough. What I mean to say is neither the structure name is enough nor the field name is enough. We have to use both the things. Okay. C uses a hierarchical naming convention that first uses the structure variable identifier, then the field identifier. So in that way only we have to use. First you have to give the structure variable identifier, then the field identifier. And how we do the separation between structure variable identifier and field identifier in the sense simply by separating these two things with a dot operator. Okay, the dot is also known as a direct selection operator. The dot operator is also known as direct selection operator. Okay, remember this thing. So what concepts we discussed in this slide, in the sense we said the way how we are performing all the operations on variables, in that same way we can perform the operations on structure fields. In order to access the structure fields, only the structure name or only the field name is not sufficient, not enough. We have to use both. Okay, so the hierarchy how we use, I mean which one we have to take first, whether structure name or whether field name we have to take first, in the sense we need to take the structure name first, structure identifier first, then we have to take the field identifier. Between these two, what we have to do, what we have to use as a separator, in the sense we have to use the dot operator. Dot operator we also call it as a direct selection operator. That's it. So here you can see we have a variable, I mean this is in this example one already we have created the student structure. So a student is my structure variable and id is my structure field. So how I am using that, a student dot id. Okay, a student is my structure variable name is my structure field. How I am separating, with the help of a dot. Marks is my structure field, a student is my structure name. So dot in between is doing the separation. So like this we can access all these individual elements from the student structure. So here for the SAM1 I'm creating as a structure variable of type sample. Okay, sample is my structure template or structure. So SAM1 is my structure variable, the actual memory. Okay, and from this memory to this memory, what initializations I'm doing, 2 5, because it is having two integers, one float and one character. So two integers, one float and one character I am initializing. So how I can access all the elements from this structure? So reading also possible. If you want to read, simply apply the ampersand operator, and the other convention is same. Structure name followed by the field name. Between that you have to use the dot operator. So reading sam1.x, reading sam2.x, sam1.y, sam1.t, sam1.u. In this way you can read, or in this way you can do the initialization. Initializing the variables or initializing the fields within the program, in this way you can do. Reading the fields from the keyboard, like this you can do. And printing the fields onto the output screen using printf, in this way you can do. All concepts we have discussed over here. Doing initialization, individual initialization within the program, you can go with this approach. Reading the values from the keyboard using scanf, you can go with this approach. Printing the values onto the output screen with the help of printf, you can go with this approach. 3 different approaches. So the next thing is the demonstration. Now we do the demonstration of a type defined structure over here, and yeah. Okay, after this we'll discuss another concept, that is vset. We can access the individual elements or we can access the entire structure as a whole. So individual elements, how we can access, in this demonstration I will show you, and after this we'll discuss one more concept, that is how we can access the complete structure as a whole, and after that we'll conclude the concept, and in tomorrow's class we'll discuss furthermore, and I guess only one more class is required before we conclude this structures concept. Okay, with after that we'll go with recursion, Okay, we'll proceed in that way. So quickly we do the demonstration of type defined structures. So I'm deleting this program. So hash include stdio dot h, okay, int main of void off. So we have to do the declaration outside the main, that is before the main. So here I'm doing the declaration type def, okay, then struct, both are my keywords. Then I'm declaring the fields inside this structure, that is int x we set, then int y we set, then character t we set, then float u we set, right? Sorry, float t and character u, whatever. Float t we set, then character u we set. So how we can give the name to this structure? I'm giving the name as sample. Sample is my structure type name. So now inside the main I'm creating the what we call individual variables. The first variable I am creating with name sam1, sam1, and I am doing the initialization, individual initialization. So what I have to do, I have to use the curly brackets, and between that, first element is integer, second element is integer, third element is float 3.2, fourth element is character, that is R I am taking. Fourth element is character. So next element, I want to read the values from the keyboard. So sam2. So what I have to do over here, in order to read the values from sam2, uh, read the values for sam2, printf enter sam2 content. So I'm asking the user to input the sam2 content. So how I can read? Using sam scanf statement. Okay, inside sam2, first one is percentile d, second one is percentile d, third one is percentile f, fourth one is percentile c, fourth one is character. Okay, so how I can read? And percent sam2 dot yes, the first one is integer, then ampersand sam2 dot y, okay, then uh, third one ampersand sam float value sam 2 dot float, that is t, okay, comma, then the last one ampersand sam2 dot, the last value is a character value, that is u. So like this we are reading all the values from the what we call keyboard. So once the values are in, once both the values are in, what we can do, we can print those values. Printf, okay, printf print those values. Sam1 content, sam1 content, sam1 content, we have done the initialization within the program, that is percentile d, percentile d, percentile f, percentile c. So that is how we can sam1 dot x, comma, second variable second field sam2 sam1 dot y, third field sam1 dot t, last one sam1 dot u. Isn't it? U is my character, right? Yes, U is my character. At the end, put the semicolon and print the second one, that is sam2 content, backslash n, sam2 content, backslash n, sam2 content. Okay, what are they? Percentile d, percentile d, percentile f, percentile c, and print the individual values. sam2 dot x, comma, sam2 dot y, comma, sam2 dot t, comma, sam2 dot u. So at the end put the semicolon. Here there is a mistake, here I have to put dot. Okay, so like this you can print all the values from the sam2 variable as well. Quickly go and check the output of this program. Control S, saved, program got saved. Now I am compiling, compilation is successful, and execute. You can see it is asking me to input the sam2 content. So I am inputting, let us say 65, first integer value, second integer value 76, Okay, then it is asking me to input float value 134.75. Then it is asking me to input the character value, so I am giving the character as W. Enter. See, it is printing both the things. I have done the individual initialization. Okay, initialization within the program 2, 3, 3.2 and R. Okay, these things I have initialized within the program, and these things I have read from the keyboard. For SAM2, I have read all the values from the keyboard. See, 65, 78, 134.75 and W. Like that, you can use structures. In this way, you can do the initialization within the program and also initializing, reading the values from the keyboard. You can also do individual initialization. Okay, individual element, individual field manipulation within the program, that I will show on SAM1. SAM1.x, I am changing the value now. I am keeping it some 130, 1345, something like this. And I am changing the second value, SAM2.y. I am keeping over here some 2567. Then SAM 2 dot t also I am changing, which is a float value, equals to some 134 point 1345.2567, like this I am keeping. Now last SAM 2 dot u, that is character, I am keeping over here now z. Okay, I am initializing the last character as z. So now printf, what we have done, manipulation, isn't it? Manipulated SAM1 content. So after manipulation, that is percentile D, percentile D, percentile F, last one percentile C character we are printing. So again, you print SAM1.x, comma SAM1.y. Okay, comma, here I forgot to put SAM1. Okay, SAM1.x, SAM1.y, then SAM1 dot t, comma, the last one is character, that is SAM1 dot u. U is my character. So at the end, put the semicolon, save it. Now you go and execute the program. Program compilation is successful. Now you run the program. As you can see, it is asking me once again, so I am giving some 4, 5, the float value 3.798, then character value y I am giving. Enter. See over here, okay, manipulated value, we need to put backslash n over here. I forgot backslash n. Save it, compile it, and execute it. Execute. So over here, once again, it is asking me to input the values. So I'm giving 23 and 54. Some random values I'm giving 76.34. Then character value I forgot. Character value y I am giving input. So you can see now. First, whatever values we have done the initialization within the program, that is 2, 3, 3.2 and r. Then whatever values we are reading from the keyboard. This is using keyboard. 23, 54, 76 and y. This is whatever values we have manipulated on SAM1 that we are getting over here. See, I have manipulated SAM1.x. I kept 1345 that I am getting over here. Then I have manipulated the value. Okay, here something mistake has happened. Yeah, here we are saying SAM2. This must be SAM1 because we are modifying all the values inside SAM1. Okay, save it. Now you close this one because again you go compile, execute. See here. So what we have to put 3, 6, 6.89 and y. Okay, now you can see whatever values I have initialized 2, 3, 3.2 r, then whatever values I am reading 3, 6, 6.89 y, and whatever values I have modified, I have manipulated, that is 1345, 2567, 1345 dot 2567. Okay, then we got z. So like this we are getting all the values from the structure. Hopefully you understood. So now the last concept that we've discussed over here, and with that we conclude and we'll go for the next concept in our next class. So go to the slide and see what concept we have. Yeah, operations on structures. So this is something up, I mean, using the complete structure variable as a whole. Okay, without going for individual element access, individual field access, we can use the complete structure as a whole. If you are using the complete structure as a whole, complete structure variable as a whole, you can apply only one operation, that is assignment operation. Okay, only one operation is allowed on the structure, that is assignment of a structure to another structure. You can create two variables of same structure type, and you can do the initialization for one structure type, and you can initialize that one structure variable into some other structure variable of same type. Okay, into another structure variable of same type. A structure can only be copied to another structure of same type. The type must be same over here. Just read out the second point over here. A structure can only be copied to another structure of the same type. Type match must be there. Type match must be there. Using what operator we are doing? Using the assignment operator we are doing. When one structure need to be copied to another structure, instead of assigning the individual member to another structure members, the whole structure, here the concept of whole structure, the whole structure can be initialized to another structure, but the type needs to be the same. Okay, there is a type restriction. So over here you can see before doing, yeah, here what we are doing, we are initializing SAM1 to SAM2. So whatever content we have inside SAM1, that same content will be copied into SAM2. So here before this assignment, what values we have inside SAM2 and what values we have inside SAM1, that I am demonstrating. I mean, that explanation I have given over here. So before the assignment, I have inside integer x, I have 7. Inside integer y, I have 3. Then I have 0.0. Then I have r, capital R. Okay. So inside SAM1, what we have? 2, 5, 3.2 and a. Like this I have. So I have done this initialization. SAM2 equals to SAM1. Then what is happening? Inside SAM2 also, all these things get copied. That means this x value gets copied into x, y value gets copied into y, t value gets copied into t, and a value gets copied into a. So after copying, I got same field values both in SAM1 as well as SAM2. So quickly we demonstrate this one with the help of a simple program. Okay, operation on a structure, that is assignment operator. The same demonstration I will do. So just go to the program, that is IDE. So now what I have to do, start writing the program. Hash include stdio.h, then do the structure declaration using type def. I am doing type def struct. Then here you put the fields, that is first field is integer x, second field is integer y, third field is float, right? Float t. Then the last field is character u. I have taken like this. Then the structure name we have taken sample. Okay. Now you create two variables, int main of void. So I'm doing the creation of two variables. So quickly see what we have inside SAM1. That is 253.2a. So I'm creating my first structure variable. SAM1 equals to, use the curly brackets, that is 253.2a. 2 comma 5 comma 3.2 comma a, capital A. Like this we have done the initialization. Quickly print those values just to check whether it is having or not. SAM1 content. SAM1 content. How many? Percentile D, percentile D, percentile F, percentile C. 4 variables. So SAM1 dot x, comma SAM1 dot y, comma SAM1 dot t, comma SAM1 dot u. So we printed. So quickly go and check. Step by step we write the program. Quickly go and check whether we get the same or not. So execute, compilation successful, execute. See, we got 2, 5, 3.2 and A. We got SAM1 content. Now do the declaration of SAM2 content. Initialize the SAM2. Declare, define and initialize SAM2. SAM2 equals to what I have to do. Yes, again here go and check in the image what we have. 730.0, 7 comma 3 comma 0.0 comma the last character is R we are keeping, capital R we are keeping. Just go to the end and put that same content. Yeah, go to the end. Here you put printf. Here SAM2 content. SAM2 content, what we have to put? Percentile D, percentile D, percentile F, percentile C, comma, SAM2 dot X, comma, SAM2 dot Y, comma, SAM2 dot T, comma, SAM2 dot U. Okay, so like this we have initialized and we have printed SAM2 also. So now go and compile, run. See, okay, I need to take the backslash n, I forgot. So just take here one backslash n, save it, save it. Now compile, compilation successful, execute. See, I got as it is 253.2a, 730.0r. Like this we have the entries. So now what I am doing, I am using the assignment operator on uh, structure variables, and I am assigning the whole values. I am assigning the complete values from SAM1 to SAM2. So what I am doing, SAM2 equals to SAM1 I am saying. So what will happen? Does it going to initialize only one value? No, it will initialize all field values of SAM1 into SAM2. So when you print SAM2 content, now the same thing we have to print. This same thing I will copy from here to there. Okay, so Control C, and you can print over here Control V. Okay, understood? So what we are doing, we are simply copying SAM1 content into SAM2 content with one single statement. We are not doing individual initializations. We are using the SAM1 as a whole over here, as a complete structure over here. So complete values, whatever we have inside SAM1, those things will replace the values, will override the values inside SAM2, and after copying, after assignment, your SAM2 will also have the variables same, will have the values same like SAM1. Save it, compile it, and go execute, check the values. So yeah, SAM2 content, we need to put one message after assignment. Assigning from SAM1. So we assigned the values from SAM1. So after assigning SAM1, we got the modification. See here, after assigning. So initially SAM1 is having 253.2a and SAM2 is having 730.0r. So SAM2 content we have manipulated, that is we have assigned from SAM1. So what we got, whatever content we have inside SAM1, the same content we got inside SAM2 as well. That is 253.2 and A. So here, as you can see, we are printing the SAM2 content only and we are getting the content from SAM1. Why means? Because we have done the initialization. So all content from SAM1, all field values from SAM1 got copied into SAM2. So in this way, we can even use individual elements from a structure, or we can use the complete structure with the help of assignment operator. So these two are the ways in which we can access the elements of fields of a structure. Hopefully you understood. Okay, in our next video, we mostly cover pointers to structures. It is one of the important concept. See, when we discuss these pointers to pointers to structures, we are giving ways, we are paving the ways towards data structures. This pointer to structures, I'm telling you, you do the practice in your summer holidays as well, whatever holidays you will get, because this pointer to structures we use in data structures as well. The complete implementation, complete 5 units of your data structures, they are dependent on this concept, pointer to structure. So there we use a different concept called as class, which is exactly similar to structure, and there also we use pointer to class, pointer to object, pointer to class, pointer to reference. Okay, likewise concepts we use over there in order to do the implementation of all your data structures. So that's the reason this structures concept and a pointer to structures concept, it is a wonderful concept and it is an important concept. Thank you very much, students. Okay, we'll continue further in our next session.